Hi, I'm WillPWilson, and thank you for watching All Day Live. We're about to be interviewing Stu Webb, StewWebb.com, world-renowned investigative journalist and whistleblower. And after this segment, we're going to have an interview with Don Darrington on saving medical cannabis, so this should be interesting. I hope you enjoy listening to Stu Webb on his alerts to what's going on. It's incredibly important. We just kind of decided that we would have him interviewed with us on this program. Judge David Wynn Miller couldn't make it, so I hope you appreciate getting to hear from Stu Webb. We hope to have him on some more with representative journalists from the veterans-today-stew-webb, including Dr. James Preston, or Preston James, I think it's Preston James, excuse me. And we're about to have Don Darrington on, so enjoy this program. Thank you very much.
I am here.
Now, having somewhat successfully established my press credentials, and because you and I have at least one thing in common, which is that all of us deal with language all the time, I thought it might be nice today for me to come to you with some of my language complaints. Certainly not to blame them on you, although, of course, you are implicated. And not that you can help it. I mean, the problem is really with the people you cover. The politicians, the celebrities, and the lawyers. And although their level of insincerity is astonishing, it's still kind of fun to hear them talk. In particular, it's fun to listen to Washington talk. Whenever the issue of term limits comes up, I always tell people the only term limits I'm interested in would be to limit some of the terms used by politicians. They speak, of course, with great caution, because they must take care not to actually say anything. Proof of this, according to their own words, is that they don't actually say things, they indicate them. As I indicated yesterday, and as the president indicated to me, but sometimes they don't indicate, they suggest. Let me suggest that as I indicated yesterday, I haven't determined that yet. See, they don't decide, they determine. If it's a really serious matter, they make a judgment. I haven't made a judgment on that yet. When the hearings are concluded, I will make a judgment, or I might make an assessment. I'm not sure. I haven't determined that yet. But when I do, I will advise you. They don't tell, they advise. I advised him that I had made a judgment. Thus far, he hasn't responded. They don't answer, they respond. He hasn't responded to my initiative. An initiative is an idea that isn't going anywhere. When he responds to my initiative, I will review his response, take a position, and make a recommendation. See, they don't read, they review. They don't have opinions, they take positions, and they don't give advice, they make recommendations. And so, at long last, after each has responded to the other's initiatives, and each has reviewed the other's responses, and everyone has taken a position, made a judgment, and offered a recommendation, now they have to do something. But that would be much too direct. So instead, they address the problem. We're addressing the problem, and we'll soon be proceeding. That's a big activity here in Washington. Proceeding. They're always proceeding or moving forward. A lot of that goes on. Senator, have you solved that problem? Well, we're moving forward on that. And when they're not moving forward, they're moving something else forward, such as the process. We have to move the process forward so we can implement the provisions of the initiative in order to meet these challenges. No one has problems anymore. Challenges. That's why we need people who can make the...
Okay, Stu, we got Stu Webb here. Give me a second on this so I can bring me up. And this is All Day Live. I'm WillPWilson. And appreciate everybody watching today. If I get all the mics home, I've got a panel here. Will, you're a private attorney general, right? And Herb, we got you there too. You're kind of invisible there, kind of like the government. That's Herb, spiritual criminality. We have Stu Webb here on, and this is All Day Live, by the way, WillPWilson. And I appreciate everybody watching. And so what we're going to do is have an interview today with the renowned journalist and whistleblower, Stu Webb, as I bring up that information. And Stu, you're here on the line with us right now as we bring you up. And Stu, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Well,
okay, so as we're trying to get the program underway here, And I'll bring up your contact information, Stu. That's All Day Live, Mediacific, if you want, mediacific.com. And that's Herb, good to see you as well right there. We got you guys right there. And so if we get to an interview here with Stu Webb, stewwebb.com. And Stu, it's really good to hear you. You're sitting in behind me here. I'll try to bring that up. Stu, go ahead. We're trying to do a lot of things. We were going to interview David Wynn Miller, that's Judge David Wynn Miller, but we couldn't get a hold of him at the last moment. But we have, Stu, you've worked with veterans-today.com, right? And so if you bring up that's Judge David Wynn Miller, if you dwmlc.com if you want to get a hold of him on language syntax. But Stu, as I'm bringing up the article in the background, get us up to speed on certain things occurring, as we've had you on call for investigation here in Seattle, and we hope to get you on more often. I know we've covered a lot of issues and things like that as far as corruption in this government. Of course, if it wasn't corrupt, it wouldn't be normal today, would it? I mean, am I wrong?
You're probably correct about that. It's been corrupt for
Yeah. By the way, I want some input from you guys as well, Will, at Banjera, as you go by, Will-McCoby. But anyway, Herb and you guys, let's get some input with Stu. Let's see what we can figure out. And Stu, give us the latest report.
Well, I just want to touch one thing on this Navy Yard gunman and shooting. Veterans Today was correct, the author that wrote it. There were several people that I'm aware of that, did input on this. But it is on the front of my site. It's also on Veterans Today. It's on stewwebb.com. It's at the top there. It says Navy Yard gunman stalked, tortured, induced to kill. And he said he was being hit with ELF waves. Now, this article was published about 5 days ago. I put it up yesterday. I've been a little bit behind because some other stuff that I'm doing. But it was published actually about 4 days ago, I believe it was, on Veterans Today. And today the FBI came out and made an announcement all over every TV station and stated exactly what this article specifically states. So you can see that, this was Veterans Today. There are people involved in Veterans Today. They're military intelligence, and this was on their base. So they were aware of what happened. And this guy claims he's been being stalked for, I think it was a year and a half, 2 years, by 3 individuals hitting him with ELF waves. And they're able to get inside. It's an excellent article, being able to get inside your brain without being chipped with the new technology that they have. They use this technology now over the telephone, Stonar technology, and they can do it through your regular phone, your cell phone, whatever. And they can turn you into a Manchurian candidate, more or less, by doing things to you, and that's what happened to this guy. And the article is an excellent piece. It has excellent reference material. And then here we are 3 days later, roughly, almost 4 days later. Here we are with the truth coming out by the FBI for the first time, speaking the truth about what had happened. And if we look at all the mainstream media and all the lies, this article covers it. It gets into detail on the ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, and all the lies that were behind it. But I will add something that is not in this article. It was the Israeli Mossad was behind this, and we know that. And it will be published there soon on Veterans Today. But they were the ones that were behind the shooting. They were the ones that triggered this guy, had stalked him. These were 3 Mossad apparently stalking him to use him at some point. And that's what they're doing to a lot of people in America. And the Kenya, I might add, bombing that occurred here a few days ago, that they're showing pictures again tonight on the evening news of 3 stories of a car garage being collapsed and so forth, where 3 separate bombs went off in the shooting rampage in that mall over there in Kenya. That was also Mossad, and they know that, and they're just trying to get the specific details at the current time. But you're going to see more about both of these incidents. And the reason I believe it took place was because Obama could not start his war. And he was wanting to do the war. Now, I have also on my website, right there at the top of my site, you will see a link that says presstv.com, and that's about Israel wanting to start the war, Gordon Duff, and also inside a link, if you scroll down a little bit or open up any link, let me find one. because it's been a little while since I had it published, but you could click on any link on my website that is in the left column where it says breaking news, and in the right it will pop up and it will say no, I apologize. It's in the left column. It says what the senators need to know, U.S. senators, etc., regarding the shooting, or regarding the war, I mean. And in there, we've packaged a U.S. caught Syrian gas terror plot is the title in the left column, dated the 15th of September. And there's a bunch of links inside that link, and it shows specific details of the Syrian rebels, which is Al-Qaeda was behind the Syrian gas attacks on the Syrian people, not the Syrian government. And this is the reason that Putin stepped in. He took the material that Gordon Duff, and I give Gordon Duff, editor of Veterans Today, I give him total credit for the fact that he was probably the one that stopped this war from happening, him and General Dempsey. And General Dempsey, when Obama was told Dempsey wanted to start war that night, there's a link in there that says the U.S. generals told him, no, we couldn't do it. There wasn't any way. He'd start World War III, and he's going to have to go before the Congress. Susan Rice and Valerie Jarrett, his aides, were in there telling him what to do, quite frankly, between us. And I know it's not appropriate to say this on TV, but I think that they're giving him sex daily in that White House for him to be so stupid to take the information from these three women that are his top aides and to be pushing for such things. And of course, they're controlled by Daddy Bush. But the point that I'm making, this war stopped. Russian Putin stopped it basically, saved Barack Obama's rear end from probably getting drug out of the White House later on and lynched by the American people, and for starting this war. And so that they had to come back, and they had to act for the guns, because they want the war. Because here's the problem: the banks are melted down, and everybody knows it. It's going to collapse at some point. They even have plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And one of their plans, Daddy Bush's plans, because he's the one doing this, he's the one controlling America, and these other 12 Illuminati devil worshippers that are controlling the economies of the world. They know that one of their plans was that to start a war in Iran and start the war with Syria, if plan A didn't go correct and plan B correct, et cetera, Kerry lying to the people and Obama lying to the people and lying to the Congress, then they would come back in and they would blame a complete meltdown on the banks at some point and say everybody's accounts went to zero worldwide, and that Syria and Iran stole the money, so they would rally up the people war against Iran and Syria.
Stu,
now,
could I ask you real quick, a certain thing I want to ask you, because we're dealing with a very powerful crime syndicate. We've been covering trying to help steer the creation of medical cannabis here in the Northwest, because it's been found that cannabis helps remove nuclear contamination as well from the soil, from the water, and from the human body, and that it also may be the only protein we may have left to eat once the seafood is now completely contaminated, which it is now. And we've been up against this crime syndicate trying to keep us from being healthy, trying to do everything they can to destroy us financially. And some people are talking about, if we have to replace gold, could we replace it with cannabis, oils, tinctures, cannabis, whatever, something. We're going to have to rebuild our whole economy, those who survive what's going to come. And with your input, what do you think is going to be the next step as far as our survival going past this crime family? I believe me, they went after me as well, and they used very powerful psychotronic weapons on me. A man named Michael Kunath here in Seattle and his firm targeted his own clients. I was his first client, by the way, with Bank of Not America, and they basically extremely targeted us, used mind control weapons to disable our minds, and then steal our estates. And what else do you expect from a Jesuit crime syndicate here? Anyway, that's a long story. Wait till you find out how corrupt the court system is. It's not fun, people. But anyway, what do we do to be able to rebuild our economy, such as is cannabis, medical cannabis? They're going to try and destroy that as well, and I've tried to keep them on track with organic medical cannabis. And then there's a whole perspective. Give us some input with your extreme amount of expertise. Where do you think we can go with this?
Well, let me back up for a minute and answer that question in a moment, and let me finish what I was going to say about this worldwide meltdown. Couldn't start the war, so they had to have another terrorist incident here in the United States. And it's all Israel that's behind it, because Daddy Bush controls Bibi Netanyahu in Israel, and he controls the United States. With that said, they got to get the guns, and that's what this was all about. And now that's been blown for him, because it's been revealed, and it will probably come out very shortly about the Mossad. It has now on your program. I put it out, in fact, last night.
Well, they're going to try and control even cannabis. They're going to try and control and try to make sure that the little guy can't crawl out of the financial debts that they've created on us after stealing everything from us. And you know that Israel will be involved with that too.
That's very true. And they said that tonight on the national news, I watch it on occasion, and they made a comment that America's household has grown in the second quarter by 1.8%. Real estate prices have gone up, etc. And they're saying that the American people are all worth combined around $77 trillion. Well, if we're all combined, 330 million of us roughly, and Daddy Bush is worth 100 trillion, and Mizell's worth 30 trillion, and Daddy Bush is worth 100, and Millman's worth 100 trillion both, and Henry Kissinger's worth upwards of 100 trillion. How many of these people there's, out of the 12, there's at least 4 that I'm aware of over, including David Rockefeller and Rothschild, so that's actually 5 of them, worth around $100 trillion. They're worth more money than everybody in America, and they've stolen it from the American people. What we have to do is not say, okay, what are we going to do after, they create war and after they drop nukes or after they drop gas attacks on major cities and kill huge amounts of people and all this. I'm not into that. I'm saying stop at every move. What we need to do is we need to form posses and go after these 12 men. That's my personal opinion. It has to be done. They have to be brought to justice, whether it be in the streets, that is, take them to trials in the street, because we don't have a Justice Department, and we need to be pushing against this Congress and Senate. We need to be demanding that Eric Holder be removed, and then we get an honest, clean Attorney General to bring about justice. These people have the evidence to take down Mizell and Millman for this financial meltdown right now, and they have the evidence, and I've said it on this program before. Last October, September, October, there was a 16 intelligence agencies report. I'm not privy to read it, but I've heard about it from several sources that have read it. 16 different intelligence agencies kicked together. They put together this report. They do it every so often. They said that Daddy Bush, the Bush family, that is Neil, Jeb, George W., Marvin, George Herbert Walker Bush, Daddy Bush I call him, Leonard Millman, Larry Mizell, Bibi Netanyahu, and others unnamed, they said that they have robbed and looted this country for hundreds of trillions of dollars, that they have been behind every financial scandal now that they are aware of since clear back in the 1980s. They are drugging this country consistently with opium out of heroin out of Afghanistan, using CIA redemption flights to haul it into America. We have an heroin epidemic at the current time in America, and that they're keeping Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, open for that purpose so they can use those planes to fly in and out. It also said that they've committed the highest treason and sedition by selling nuclear materials stolen off of Rocky Flats nuclear arsenal and shipped through Israel to provide North Korea with the nuclear material. They sold it to them to be able to do their weapons of mass destruction, their nuclear weapons. And that they were behind the Oklahoma City bombing and a building in Oklahoma City on April the 19th, 1995, and that they were behind the attack on America on September the 11th, 2001. And they point the finger right at these people because they've got them nailed for it, and say that U.S. intelligence has obstructed justice, the Justice Department has obstructed justice, and the administrations have obstructed justice regarding this, and that they need to be stopped. And these people have committed the highest levels of treason and sedition against the United States of America and starting wars based on lies and everything else. This was a very powerful statement for the President of the United States, Barack Obama, to sit there and read, and here he does nothing. And it's a very powerful statement for Eric Holder to be reading as well, and he does nothing about it. They know who these people are. They need to do something. But our Congress, our Senate, our administration, and our Attorney General of the United States are all in bed with them. So we need to start moving these people out. You know, I started recallpetitions.com. We were successful in getting, and one of the people that started with me, Victor Head, was successful in removing 2 congressmen, a congresswoman, a congressman in Colorado just a week and a half, almost 2 weeks ago. They didn't think it could be done, or they believed that they could do it, but the ones that were in power didn't believe so. They got money thrown at them from Mayor Bloomberg of New York, $350,000 to stay in power and in office, and that didn't even. So the people spoke, and it is possible to remove these people, and recallpetitions.com is right up there. And all a person has to do, and we need to start there and start moving them all out of Congress, because we didn't vote them in. Electronic voting machines have been rigged, so your vote really doesn't count, but we can do it through the recall. And it's real simple. Go to recallpetitions.com. Everything's there you need, the boilerplate, the file, and all you have to do is put the congressman's name in there. And if they sign the Patriot Act, if they sign the NDAA Act, meaning detention without trial and hold you indefinitely and torture you, or if they sign gun control, or if they signed off saying, yeah, we need to go to war and already said it, you can remove them for those reasons because they failed to uphold their oath of office to support and defend the Constitution. So it's right there in the petition. It was a $4,500 boilerplate draft done by an attorney. It's right there to do it. It's been successful. That's what people need to do now, not to wait for after a mass attack on America with sarin gas by the Bushes, or nuclear weapons from our foreign enemies will be our enemies if we go in and attack. Russia, China both have said if we attack Syria or Iran, they're going to attack us. They've made that public over the past 4 years several times. They don't want war. We don't want war. It's Daddy Bush, it's Millman, it's Mizell, it's Bibi Netanyahu, and the others. Bibi answers to them. It's the other 12 Illuminati because they want to bring about their New World Order. They want to get rid of 1/3 of the population. They want chaos, and out of chaos comes control. And that's what they want to do. They want their one world government operated out of Jerusalem, and it really comes down to a biblical proportion. And they're trying to fulfill biblical prophecies with the Antichrist running his kingdom out of Jerusalem. So with that said, you know, I think we need to be doing something, rising up against these people.
It's like the old bank robbers of the Old West. They'd set fire to something to create a decoy while they're running out of town with the bank cash. It's creating decoys and decoys and decoys, and they've created enough of theft of our thousands of trillions of dollars they've stolen from the world people. Now they're going to use it to get rid of the people they stole from. What better way to murder and steal, which is what they're doing. And then probably they're Satanists and they harvest souls as well. People don't get that because it's a lot more into what you don't understand yet, people. But if we're looking at global theft and what they're doing, what do you think are the chances that we will be able to survive this using alternative economics? What's your thoughts?
I think if they are successful in doing what they will do, we're going to have a disaster here in America to such proportions that nobody's going to believe it, because we will be attacked, we will be overrun, more or less. The American people are going to be fighting in the streets for their lives. They're going to be picking up guns. They're going to be a lot of people are going to be awful hungry because there won't be any food. Because the first thing that will happen if we get attacked and if they pull off what they want to do, all cars will cease to be in operation. All computers, all cell phones. I say cars because they have the computer chip in them, the computer brain. It will melt down with an ELF weapon, and they always do that during a war. There will not, the only thing that will be running will be, should we say, old cars with a set of points in them with no computer chip. And even the cars without the computer prior to 1981, some of the late models, 1970 through 81, they had the electronic module inside the distributor. Those will be melted down. Those cars are not going to be operational. So there won't be transportation. There won't be food delivered because the trucks will be down. Airplanes will be down. We're going to be in chaos here in America if we allow this to happen. Then we're going to have troops. We're going to have an invasion, I believe, from what I've been told even, the possibility from Russia and China. And they do have troops in here being trained under UN. We also would be invaded from the southern hemisphere because they're going to come in here and rob and loot us dry. Most of the people in Mexico and Nicaragua and different places wishes that they hate us. Worldwide, everybody hates America because we've allowed these criminals to control our government to kill all these masses of people.
I'll tell you one thing, excuse me, I'm delighted to hear what I hear from you. For some reason, I thought for the longest time, I'm Will, by the way, I thought that I was alone in having this animosity about these crooks. However, what I've done is I've done my own studies, and in the studies, I've done like over 8 years of Dr. David R. Hawkins' work in metaphysics, where I learned that when the truth comes out, what happens is it changes the world. Because it changes because it has, for instance, in technical game analysis, truth has a certain ring to it. And for the people that are able to hear that ring, they hear it. And I finally have been able to hear it with this 8 years plus with Dr. David R. Hawkins' work. And on the other side of the coin, with all the stuff that you have shared here, I say, yeah, I'm okay with that. I hear what you're saying. However, I've been learning the other side of the coin, which says that myself, as a loving, caring human being, I need to become aware of that. And in becoming aware of that, I also realize that I have got to hold hands with other human beings who are loving and caring, and we can walk through this BS. And I also am aware of the fact that every thought that I make, it takes my energy. I've also learned through that experience that I've had on every thought that I make, taking my energy. Dr. David R. Hawkins did a map of consciousness from 0 to 1,000. Anything below 200, anger, hatred, rage, revenge, jealousy, guilt, apathy, etc. What that does is, that's negative energy. And at that map of consciousness at 200, which is courage, kindness, obedience to truth and integrity, love, generosity, all the way up to 1,000, which would be called what's an avatar, which is a woman, Amma, the hugging saint, is an avatar. And through Dr. David R. Hawkins' work, I learned that it takes one avatar to counter all the negativism in the world today. And what's also positive on this is what I've learned is every human being that gets at 200 and above counters a certain amount of negative human beings from the past. And because so many human beings are coming to this awareness of the spiritual awareness of the truth itself and love and generosity, etc., what happens is that we are coming together on a counter to the negativism. Because when I shared and when I learned the fact that every thought that I have takes my energy, well, I said to myself, okay, well, I need to get rid of this negative energy and be into positive energy, which is what I am doing and I have done. And what I'm trying to share with you is the fact that Obama, the Jewish League that they have in New York, and all the shenanigans that you're talking about is the animosity that I've had all along here. And when you were talking here now, I was sitting there thinking, that is beautiful because it rings true. And what I'm telling you is Obama and the rest of them, all their energies are into negativism. And they are getting burned out. They don't have the positive energy of the truth. We do.
Stu, can you hear him?
Yeah, I can, and I'll comment on that. That I'm aware that these beings, these aliens, they call them.
Yes.
I call them fallen angels. Okay.
Subhumans.
And some are human. I just did an article about Daddy Bush, the Illuminati Wizard of Oz, and I talk about the alien brain in there, how they take them over. They thrive on what you said. They thrive on fear, and they thrive on hate. They get energy from that.
They did that to Sirhan.
This is the reason they are constantly putting everybody just up in arms all the time. Everybody's in fear. Oh, we're going to have World War III. Oh, we got a boogeyman shooting again.
Excuse me, but this new spiritual movement that I just shared with you is the new revolution.
It is part of the revolution. And part of the revolution, you know, in my opinion, now this is strictly my opinion, everyone has their own.
That's okay. I appreciate your opinion.
That if there was enough spirituality here, that is, I'm saying enough people praying to God, because we have a God and a devil. I'm aware of that. I'm aware that Christ is real. Believe me, he's shown his colors to me many, many times, not in person, but in the way he has done things. Because prayer stops things. We have to send the prayers up to a higher level in order to get things done. And we need to take physical action. We need to do something to stop this stuff now and take everything these 12 men have stolen from the world and put it back in the treasuries of the world. They have $5 quadrillion, 5,000 trillion dollars they have. And it's just in America alone. They own better than 9 out of every 10 shopping centers. Apartments. They own over 500,000 apartment units in America. They've got housing in the millions of units of rental property across America. That itself is a tremendous amount of money that can be recovered immediately and put back, sold off, stimulate the economy. They're controlling 97% of all businesses in America today, whereas in '81 they only controlled 20% of all businesses. Take all the businesses away from them, sell them off, get back into the free enterprise zone once again. It would solve states' debts, it would solve the national debt, and get the clawback law for everybody that's ever been ripped off, lost their pension funds, lost 401ks in any way, shape, or form, or any money in the junk bond daisy chain or the S&L frauds and all the other stuff that went on. Let them put their claim in for exactly what they lost so they would have that back. And then the balance could go to the states equally and enough to operate the government, that is our military that we need, and to pay for salaries and start downsizing in Washington and put the free enterprise back. Because part of the problem that we have, we've only got about 120 million working Americans out of the 330 million here in America. And out of that, 60% of them are working for the government. They're working for the federal government, the state government, the county government, the city government, or they're contractors for the government in some way, shape, and or form. So we've got to take that away. Being the government, being the largest employer, it shouldn't be that way. And we need to get back to this 80% plus of the economy being totally in the control of the people. And we could do this and put it 100% back in the hands if we took it back under the clawback law. It's simple to do. But we've got to change Washington, D.C. We've got to change the Congress, the Senate. We've got to change the administration. And we've got to change the Justice Department because they have control there. And if we could do, and the courts, if we could do that in itself, and it could be done in a very short period of time, if the people would rise up.
Thank you, the people. Thank you.
The American people. And we do have a rising. The truck drivers in America are going on strike on the 11th and the 12th of October. They've announced it. There's even an announcement up on Facebook. It's 45,000 of them going on strike. Almost 50,000 have joined, said they were going to strike. And so this is, and they're striking because of government corruption, because of the government being corrupt. So nothing's going to be hauled for a couple of days. That means there's going to be at the stores and stuff, there's probably going to be a little bit of a shortage of food coming up the following week. But you know, Mike Harris of Veterans Today, the financial editor, had run some numbers. He says if we could get everybody in America to go on strike and not go to work or anything for exactly 1 week, not buy a dime in gas, food, anything. Shut off your electricity, light up the barbecue grills, get everything in advance, shut it down. No gas into your house. Use cold water to bathe with, whatever, for a few days.
Well, wait a minute. The Mormons have been doing that for years.
That
They've been food supplies, yes.
Yes, well, sort of.
We-
For this particular thing to happen.
Okay. Real quick, Stu, we've got about...
financially crater them, but it would financially crater them, and they would be belly up, and they couldn't play this Ponzi game anymore because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to work themselves out of this Ponzi scheme they did with the derivatives, with the artificial mortgages that they had created of 100 trillion and now 5,000 trillion in derivatives. And they think they're going to be able to do this if they can work it through the year 2016 by running these banks as a gambling casino and ripping everybody off that way. We could actually crater them in America if everybody went on strike, 5 days, bought nothing, and used very little gas, very little electricity. We could do that to them. We could put them in a real financial bind. So
And
it's
we need to help each other to get there.
By the way, real quick, in the background is it's a diagram of the amount of contamination that Fukushima has contaminated the entire Pacific Ocean. And as Stu, I think we're going to do some future broadcasts with you and Dr. Preston James of veterans-today.com. And then Gordon Duff, I'd like to have you on with him sometime. The circumstances are that as they had murdered Dr. Yul Brown by poisoning him with plutonium powder when NSA agents went in after he refused to cease his research in 1993 on the orders of Zbigniew Brzezinski, who called him up at the Ontario, California office and told him to cease, which the Rockefellers had harassed him his entire life. One of the greatest heavy water physicists in history. And the thing I want people to understand is that while we're observing, and Stu Webb helping point out the fact most of you don't have an idea that these characters look like they're in charge are our vile enemies. And the third circumstance of Brown's gas is that the only water we may be able to drink soon is deep water aquifers and Brown's gas, because the plasma neutralizes the nuclear proton. It also transmutes the elements. I bet you didn't know that. But anyway, so we need to look at all of this. We need to cover it a lot more. We need to wake us all up, each of us. That's why we do community TV. It's all of us. Stu, go ahead. One got about 5 minutes left. Go ahead. As I brought up in the background of the Fukushima. Go ahead.
Yeah, I heard that, and it sounds, I wasn't aware that we could clean it up, and if it can work, we've got to do something because our ocean is contaminated now, the Pacific.
That's what they talk
And the Gulf of Mexico is contaminated with all that methane gas still, that big bubble that's down in there that could any time come up out of there. They call it the dead zone, and we've got the Cortec. I believe they sprayed it with in the Gulf to consolidate that oil so they could use their skimmers and pull up all that oil. That had arsenic and cyanide and everything else. And Deborah Dupree, you ought to put her on sometime. She's a writer for The Examiner, a friend of mine, and she's put a book out on that where there's over, I think, 6,000 deaths and miscarriages and so forth of people who have lived along the Gulf that have been eating still fish out of the Gulf. So the Gulf of Mexico is contaminated as well with arsenic and cyanide and all that. So fun. We've got, our oceans, they basically have destroyed it. And we've got an oil spill. Most people are unaware of this, but within a month after BP caused this incident down here in the Gulf of Mexico, within a month, the same thing happened over off the coast of China. Now that thing's down 20 some odd thousand feet or whatever it is. It's one of the deepest holes on the planet, and it's still spewing oil along the coast of China. And they said it may be 20 years before they can figure out how to clog the thing up. It may have to empty out. So these people don't give a rat's what about the human race, because they've been building inside Mars, inside the moon, and they've been doing underground facilities in there. And that's where part of this $5,000 trillion went, because I asked, that's enough to buy the economies of the world up 3 times over plus. Where's all the money going? And everybody keeps telling me in the intelligence world that it's going off planet to those 2 bases. Well, so this is what we're up against. We're up against a bunch of Satanists and humans that are possessed by fallen angels, and there's estimated 200,000 of them, and they're in human form, and they're running governments of the world. They're the top leaders of the world, banksters and others. And, they could be your neighbor and you wouldn't even know it. And, you could take this and look at the biblical aspect and see what it says in Genesis 6. They mate with humans, and they have fallen angels, bloodline. And it doesn't mean they have to be giants like, David and Goliath, story of David and Goliath. But we can beat them. We can beat them. But,
they're already beat.
Two things real quick, and then Herb, one last statement, because we got about 3 minutes left. Visual prayer, Art Bell had his listeners visualize rain, and it always happened and major floods occurred. This is only light. That's what Einstein even endorsed that this is a slowed down light. We can take control of the light matrix through our conscious bodies, because our bodies are infrared lenses. And if you combine that by multiple people across the surface of the earth, like the Satanists do, they combine visualization during the full moon solstices and through eclipses, full moon eclipses. And they use the mechanics of energy exchange between the planetary, lunar, and solar bodies to amplify the thought pattern. We can use it too, but we've not been aware that it works, because we're only energy and it's only light. That's how they know more than we do, and that's one of the reasons they've been getting away with it. We could actually get 82,000 people. Mathematics by associate of mine, a colleague physicist, said that 82,000 people are enough to make them all disappear off this planet. Literally, if we all visualize at the same time. That's what they're doing in the United Nations, and the Satanists that run the United Nations, that's what they're doing. And Bill Mount, Dr. William B. Mount, has mentioned this in articles at APFN message board. By the way, Stu, as we need to start learning to clean up this planet, radionics, radiesthesia, start learning about that. What is radionics? Go look up Dr. Galen Hieronymus, Dr. Sarah Hieronymus, who I studied under, Dr. Jerry Friedenstein, who they murdered, who I was working with, and Dr. Phil Callahan, head of interferometry research for the Department of Agriculture at the University of Florida. I worked with him as well. But learn about radiesthesia, get yourselves up to speed, use it. It's not supposed to be used as a weapon, but apparently that's what they're doing. We need to change this light matrix, and by the way, the largest radionics institute in the world is underneath Cambridge University, by the way, protecting them. Anyway, we need to know all this. Why aren't the Mormons, hey Herb, why aren't the Mormons using visualization? Why aren't they using means to protect the country that they're in? What are we doing here?
Well,
real quick.
Quite
1 second, Stu.
The Mormons have been overcome by the adversary, and they refuse to acknowledge that they have...
Speak up. Go ahead.
I'm saying that they have been overcome by the adversary, and they refuse to acknowledge that fact, and they are unwilling to do what it takes to get themselves out of the situation.
Okay.
It requires integrity. It requires them to actually look at their leaders and demand more of their leaders, and they're not willing to do that. Look at Harry Reid. He's a Senate Majority Leader, and he's out there obviously breaking the law every day, trying to ram this Obamacare stuff down our throats. Mormons could get rid of him like that, but they just don't want to. They're lazy. They just stick to their comfort zone.
Hey, thank you, Lou.
Yeah, thank you, Will. I really appreciate your input. Hope to have you on later on with Kurt Riggins. Stu, one last statement. While we're trying to help figure this thing out and get the people to help work with us, we do need donations. Stu Webb needs donations. I need donations because we're all live at PayPal. We can't just do all this on nothing. By the way,
please, hurry.
One last word I'd like to throw in, if I may, is that for those that don't believe Satanism is real, on the front of my website, in the middle column, if you scroll all the way down, or on your iPhones or iPads, whatever, there is the titles, devil worshippers, Illuminati, Zionist, devil worshippers, aliens, the fallen angels, fake Jews. Right there, there's a videotape.
Wow, incredible.
Of an FBI ATF raid in California of a satanic cult who had just cut someone's head off, had headless bodies in their backyard, had the head inside of a box, going to mail it to somebody, ship it to somebody. They had blood all over them, and they had exactly this cup with blood in it, and blood all over the bed, and it shows them videotaping killing others. So everybody should see this at least once. It's I give warning to younger kids, but they need to understand this goes on in the real world that we are all living in.
I appreciate that, Stu, a great deal. We need to get more on it. I know you've covered the Kimball Castle in Colorado, where they have deep underground operations. All of them, they seem to be like rats and cockroaches. They like to go underground. They built mag rail all over the world. They've used super advanced scalar technology for the Nazis To build mag rail, that means magnetic rail tubes. They build them all over the planet to take themselves between each of their cities that they build by our money that they used. That's all their global military defense for them, not for us. And we need to start taking responsibility as a people. I hope you guys don't think that we're off the wall. We have to be, because we're up against a very vicious enemy. And they're about to take you down too, people, even those of you that think you're a part of it. And by the way, the heads of all major corporations here, I have verification that you cannot get hired or even get promoted unless you're a member of their satanic covens here. It gets very big, and if you're new from out of town, this whole country is not only controlled by the satanic Luciferian people, the whole damn place is. Am I wrong, Stu?
Pretty much right. I mean, we're talking about 97% of all businesses in America are owned by these 12 men now.
Yeah.
Wow. Hey, thanks, Will.
Yeah, thank you, Will. I appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Stu.
And we're at the end of the program, StewWebb.com. I am WillPWilson. This is the All Day Live Show, and thank you very much, Herb. Spiritual, what is it?
Criminal spirituality.
Criminal spirituality. And by the way, I apologize if the mics haven't been working totally. They try to sabotage us here at the set because we don't have equipment to use other than at the school. It'd be nice if people donated to help us get better equipment. Of course, they don't want the truth out, do they?
You tell them, Will.
They don't want the truth out. Stu, we're still doing it somehow, I guess.
We're still popping it out. I don't know how I'm doing it. I don't know how you guys are doing it.
One day at a time.
Yeah. Hey, Stu, thank you. We'll see you on the next show. We're going to have you on next week as well with Dr. James Preston at Veterans Today. So get ready for that one. It's going to be something else. Appreciate it, everybody. Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. We'll see you next week.
Will, I put this bad cable over here.
Okay, thanks. I'll
Thank
put it
you.
on my side after you get it up.
Okay, and then Herb's going to help me tomorrow night also, Stu, for the show for tomorrow night.
I got you down. I'll get a hold of Preston.
Thank you.
Stu,
God bless you.
I'm delighted with what you know, Stu.
Well, thanks. It's 29 years of it.
That's a lot of
Well, thanks. It's 29 years of it.
that's a lot of time.
Yeah, I know. 29 years. Too long.
When he responds to my initiative, I will review his response, take a position, and make a recommendation. See, they don't read, they review. They don't have opinions, they take positions, and they don't give advice, they make recommendations. And so, at long last, after each has responded to the other's initiatives, and each has reviewed the other's responses, and everyone has taken a position, made a judgment, and offered a recommendation, now they have to do something. But that would be much too direct. So instead, they address the problem. We're addressing the problem, and we'll soon be proceeding. That's a big activity here in Washington. Proceeding. They're always proceeding or moving forward. A lot of that goes on. Senator, have you solved that problem? Well, we're moving forward on that. And when they're not moving forward, they're moving something else forward, such as the process. We have to move the process forward so we can implement the provisions of the initiative in order to meet these challenges. No one has problems anymore. Challenges. That's why we need people who can make the
We're here at 8600 Aurora Choice Wellness Center, right past 85th Avenue here in Seattle, at Choice Wellness. Please come in to find out about longevity spinach. And we're about to be interviewing Don Darrington, so hold on. We're here today with Don Darrington. Don, what about saving medical cannabis?
This is a tremendous concern of mine right now. On repeated occasions, Sharon Foster, the chair of the Washington State Liquor Control Board, has assured me that the Liquor Control Board has nothing to do with medical marijuana. However, in reality, it affected us before the ink was even dry on the 502 bill. Doctors are under closer scrutiny, particularly the naturopaths It used to be that a doctor could utilize the discretion that legally they have, for instance, to allow a patient to have more than 15 plants if their physical needs and perhaps they use a lot of edibles and other means of medicating. They need a larger number of plants in order to meet their medical needs, and physicians are afraid to do that now. There's a horrible epidemic, if you will, of children being taken away from medical marijuana patients. It's happening all across the country. It's happening here. We have a little girl named Lily, who's about 6 months old, who is being deprived of her father because he is a medical marijuana patient. Some social worker evidently thought it was her right to circumvent state law. We do have state law in this state protecting medical marijuana patients in terms of custodial rights. So I intend to go to Spokane on his behalf on the 2nd. And hopefully by the time this is aired, we will have a good resolution to this. I know that other activists are also planning on going to Spokane.
What is Spokane?
This is where the father of Lily's father lives, where Lily is, in a foster home. Now, we had a situation just a couple of months ago where a little girl named Bree, fortunately this was not in our state, but she was taken away from her parents who were medical marijuana patients and was murdered in her foster home. This is really, really serious. The psychological damage this does to families, the physical damage this does to families, when there is absolutely no need for this whatsoever. Cannabis is a miracle herb. It is a miracle healer. It deals with pain. It heals. It heals our cancer. It heals our kidneys. It heals virtually. If the feds would leave us alone, I truly believe that this plant can meet most of our needs if we just let it. It's just amazing. It responds to us in ways that no other plant does in terms of meeting our needs. It has the ability, if you will, to pick up what it is in our bodies that we particularly need, and over successive generations of growing your own plants, you can actually develop a plant that is suited to your personal biology and your issues. This is one of the reasons I'm such a strong advocate for everyone to have their own cannabis plants, because we can help them develop their own personal strain with this. Another reason that we have to protect medical, and one of the reasons I'm so concerned is I've been hearing an awful lot of rumors from people in Olympia and in Seattle and all over the state with, well, we don't need medical anymore because they can just go to the state stores. The state licensed stores are geared absolutely specifically to the recreational market. What we're seeing in Seattle today is that the vast majority of access points are pretenders. They are pretending to be medical, but they have absolutely nothing medical to offer other than an occasional accident if a patient manages to find some actual organic herb somewhere, but they don't care about that. So we have to really protect medical. Medical patients need to have their own plants, even if they are not physically able to grow them out and do the whole process of ripening them to get the fruit, if you will. The immature cannabis plant is chock full of CBDs and other terpenes that are incredibly healthy for us. We can take those leaves, throw a few leaves in a smoothie in the morning, do fresh raw juicing. Amazing, amazing health benefits from this. And I can speak from this from my own experience and talking to other people. I've been a tremendous proponent of utilizing the fresh, non-psychoactive, medicinal value of cannabis for a long time, and I will admit that I am as lazy as everybody else on the planet and just didn't bother half the time. So I was very sporadic. I have actually now for the last 2 weeks had an 8-ounce glass of a smoothie, if you will, with fresh fruit and vegetables and fresh cannabis, and it has made a tremendous difference in the way I feel. I have more energy, I'm more focused, I don't forget what I'm saying as often, and I'm just really excited about this and how easy and inexpensive it is. But it is another reason why we have to protect medical. Canada recently came out. They have taken their whole political structure has taken an unfortunate dip to the conservative side, and they have come out and with new legislation that is no longer going to allow patients to grow their own after March 31st. When I first heard that, I had it was like an icicle got stuck in my heart. It really did, because stupid ideas have a horrible habit of traveling rapidly. So that is a concept that absolutely must be stopped now. We have to have access to fresh cannabis. We have to have access to developing our own personal strains, and we have to have access to the whole plant. So to say that we could go to state stores where people who are very often under too much influence of whatever, and are not receptive, have no medical knowledge whatsoever, don't have a clue what would help with diabetes, what would help with gout, what would help with hep C. They're just walking in blind and being told that something's bomb. This is bomb. That doesn't mean anything medically at all. People come in because they have real needs that need to be addressed. So we need a knowledgeable staff in medical facilities. To meet that end, the Hemp Lab University has classes scheduled for certification in medical cannabis associates to give people education and background and skills that they will need for dealing with the medical patients. So that's really exciting. If you want any more information on that, you can call Choice Wellness Center at 206-682-3015, and we'll be happy to give you more information on that program. We're hoping that, of course, it will grow into even more specialized educational areas for people with just a variety of needs. There will be classes coming up on growing safely, economically, so that people can gain some skills on taking care of their own medical needs. So.
Yeah, you got to do something. Yeah, you got to do something to try to save medical cannabis, because it seems like.
Oh, we absolutely have to. It's like.
Well, this is longevity spinach. You can get it here at 8600 Aurora. It grows very, very fast, and it's very, very powerfully healing plant. You can get it right here at Choice Wellness, here at 8600 Aurora. That's longevity spinach. You can pick it up here at 8600 Aurora Avenue. It's known to cure diabetes and cancer. And it grows very quickly. And it is organic. Please come into 8600 Aurora. You can find CWC Gardens. Talk to Don Darrington.